vibing on YouTube. So I'm making this video again because I just recorded this for I don't know how long, and somehow my phone cut off. I actually think my son touched the button and it stopped recording, and I didn't know. So I hope that I can say this in the most effective way possible. So pretty much this video is about male circumcision, and there's so much uproar all over the world about female genital mutilation. Yeah, female genital mutilation. Female circumcision. There's so much uproar about that, how it's against women's rights and things of that nature. But why isn't there the same level of uproar when it comes to our male sons, our male children, our sons? Why isn't it like that for them? As a mother to sons, specifically to sons, I could not imagine, just like I couldn't imagine doing that to my daughters, I could not imagine putting my son through that. As an infant, as a 7-year-old, at any size, any age, I could not imagine putting his body, his spirit, his mind through that. So, I know that has been a cultural practice, a traditional practice through religion, and many other different avenues, right? But just because our forefathers have done things, our foremothers have done things in the past, it doesn't mean that we need to keep doing them. That's why even in the Bible, in the gospel, it says that, don't allow your traditions to be the death of you. Don't allow those things to hold you back from the kingdom of heaven, right? Don't allow those things to hinder you, because they will. Not all traditional customs and customary practices were the right thing to do. So we don't need to keep perpetuating them, and circumcision, male circumcision specifically, is one of them. So there's like two main top points that I want to touch on, and the first thing being the idea that to circumcise your son is good because it lowers the risk for infections and is more hygienic and things of that such. And then also if the spiritual side of it, the biblical side of it, the religious side of it being, it's more so to build spiritual discipline, so that the male is no longer a slave to his flesh. He's not seeking pleasure. He's not pleasure based. He lives for a higher purpose and things like that. So firstly, I want to say that when it comes to being more hygienic and having a lower risk for infection, I think that just it returns to this point that humans, we have the world exists how it exists today because humans have separated ourselves from what's real, from nature. So if you circumcise your son because you think that he won't get an infection, it's more clean, it's cleaner, it's more hygienic, I think that's just you trying to run from nature, because you can't run from bacteria. Bacteria exists everywhere in life. There's bacteria. You can't run from bacteria. You have good and bad bacteria. You are comprised of good and bad bacteria. You yourself are either a good or a bad bacteria, depending on the scenario in life. A lot of humans are expressing themselves as the bad bacteria on earth right now. And the reason why we have freezers and things like that, refrigerators, because we're trying to lower the growth, decrease the growth, inhibit the growth of bacteria. But if you just look out in nature, you just look in reality, good bacteria, bad bacteria, it grows, it fluctuates, it happens. So you can't necessarily run from bacteria. And if an infection takes place, there's many ways that you can, first of all, prevent it. There's many ways that you can prevent it. There's many ways that you can treat it as well. So there's many ways that you can treat it and prevent it. And specifically as a mother to sons, if you have sons that are uncircumcised, one thing that I will specifically say is that those like disposable diapers and things like that, diapers in general, whether it's cloth diapers, disposable ones, those things are the most unhygienic things that you can use for your uncircumcised son, because if you leave it on too long, which the time that you can leave on, when they say that you have a certain amount of time that you can leave a diaper on, like an uncircumcised child, that time significantly decreases when they're uncircumcised. It significantly decreases when they're uncircumcised, because yes, it will hold bacteria in an infection. Like bacteria can fester more easily. It will fester more easily in an uncircumcised child. So you do have to be able to take care of it. You don't use soap. You have to be on it with an uncircumcised child. And I think that's also a part of it. It's it's a laziness that has taken place. We've become very lazy and lackluster. But so yeah, you don't use soap do not use soap on an uncircumcised male child. Just like soap and different products can cause, challenges, cause problems in female body as well. The same thing can happen with male children. The same thing can happen with an uncircumcised penis. So you don't have to use soap there. You have to clean it with just water. You don't really have to do. So yeah, those things will definitely cause infections. But that's not because of the uncircumcision itself. That's due to us and our how we approach things and how we're doing things. That's not the body's fault. So the next point was the religious and the traditional aspect. A lot of males, I've seen males say this a lot. They would say that, to be able to circumcise your male son, your male child, or your son, to circumcise your son, a lot of them say that they are happy that they've been circumcised, because somehow this circumcision instills it instills a discipline, a spiritual discipline, and it makes the male less prone to his feelings, less prone to being pleasure-based and seeking pleasure, and more pleasing to a higher purpose. And while I do agree with the sentiment, I think that we're approaching it wrong. You don't have to discipline the body. You need to discipline the mind first. You need to discipline the mind, and the body will follow suit. So to circumcise your son, I think that that's just the most ineffective way, most ineffective form of discipline, and it's unnecessary trauma. You just putting the body, the male, into a constant state of fight or flight. And I just think that's completely, that's just unfair. And I think that's unrealistic, because from my experience, what I've seen, what I've witnessed, what I've heard, when you see a lot of men in the world are uncircumcised. And I feel like a lot of men are circumcised. And those circumcised men, they somehow go throughout their life and they're constantly still seeking pleasure through sex, through masturbation. They're constantly seeking stimulation there. It's never enough. They're with hundreds of women. They're watching so much porn, masturbating. They're doing so much because they're trying to still somehow not just fulfill the urge. To not they're not just trying to fulfill the urge to reproduce. They're also trying to feel something, like so they're constantly seeking more stimulation. They've been desensitized. So has that circumcision really helped at all? I don't think so. It hasn't helped, because they're always seeking for that next thing, the next fix. They're trying to feel more. That's what they're doing. They're trying to feel more. They're trying to feel, and they're trying to reconnect with that feeling, which that's not a bad thing. It's been there for a reason. You know, sex is pleasurable for a reason, for male and female. When you cut them off from that part of themselves, you cut them off from that part of themselves, you're just cutting them off from their nature. You know, that's what I mean by we can't run from nature. You can't run from yourself. So I don't think that circumcision is a very wise thing to do. I don't think it never was a wise thing to do. And I'm speaking as a mother to sons. I'm speaking as a daughter. I'm speaking as a wife even. You know, a sister. It's not necessary. And this circumcision is something that really needs to die off. And I won't even say it needs to die off, but it's one of those things where it's not necessary and we don't need to do that anymore. If you teach and you instill and you exemplify discipline, and you, like I said, you instill that discipline, you discipline the mind first. You have spiritual discipline. You learn to overcome your impulses. You don't need to discipline the body because the body will follow suit. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share in this video. And I know that this is kind of like a controversial thing, but this has been on my heart because, like I said, I'm a mother, and I have sons, and I'm also a sister. I have brothers. Obviously, I'm a daughter. I'm a niece. I'm a wife. And I feel like in the world, there is so much talk about. There's so much advocacy for There's so much advocacy for women and women's rights, and everyone is so much for women empowerment, but there's not enough of that same that same care is not there when it comes to males, when it comes to men, when it comes to our sons. It's not there. And I just want to be one of the ones to speak on this specific aspect, because as a mother, right, to sons, I feel like that's a way that I can, and I have been blessed. That's a way that I have been blessed, because I can then, in my own way, my own small way, my own family, rebalance the scale and begin to not be so one-sided when it comes to things. So I can also rebalance the scales in terms of how we view the male specimen and how we care for the male specimen through my sons. And I'm not going to say that it's a very easy thing, because like I said before, we coming from a place where we have completely kind of disconnected ourselves and always constantly trying to fight and disconnect ourselves and fight against our nature, against reality, which we are a part of innately, inherently, but we don't want to be that. So in my own way, as a mother, I'm rebalancing that scale. I'm balancing the scale. So yeah, until next time, bye.